everybody. Welcome back to the PBL Primetime Volume 2. Because at this point, I'm just better than everybody winning back-to-back championships. We'll just roll along as we go. As always, your back-to-back commissioner, Josh in the house, and my guy, Brent Lias, our lovable Sacco. Brent, how's it going over there, bub?
I'm good. Struggling this week right now. Week one, full tilt mode has been initiated.
Yeah, and I think we had an early draft, so we've been roster baiting longer than normal. So it's good to just get into week one, get to the matchups, see what the players are going to do. Maybe not Lou. I don't know if Lou has any more players left. We'll see. But we'll roll right into the matchups. First up, we got myself and Reed. Brent, what do you think?
All right, so Reed has one of the highest projections this week. It's really on the back of Justin Herbert, who I think is going to have a bounce back year, and especially picking it off in the second highest over under the week, Chargers versus Dolphins. My biggest concern is Reed's running backs, Najee and James Conner. High volume, low efficiency. We'll see how that plays out. And then going off of that Chargers Dolphins game, I think Tyreek Hill has the potential to have a 50-point game this week. But I just don't know if it's going to be enough going up against you, who I think you might have the strongest wide receiver room going, Calvin Ridley, Keenan Allen, my guy Amon-Ra St. Brown, and of course, the number one wide receiver, Justin Jefferson. Those four could carry you throughout the entire year. You have Nick Chubb. You went hero running back strategy this year. So, last year Chubb had to do it all for you, score 30 points a game. This year, you're only looking for maybe 15 to 18 to have a solid week and not hurt you. I'm curious to see how the Ravens use J.K. Dobbins week one in this new offense. There's the rumors of more passing game work. So if that happens, he'll be a steal of the draft. And then I think the biggest question mark for you is how does Aaron Rodgers and the rookie Anthony Richardson play? If they both play good, I think you have a strong shot of winning. If Rodgers plays like last year and Anthony Richardson plays like 2022 Cam Newton, then you're going to be struggling.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, and what was your pick, Brent?
I'm gonna go with you.
Perfect. As you should. For me, I believe in my wide receiver room. I came into the draft thinking wide receiver heavy, of course, with Justin Jefferson off the board first. And to be honest with you, I thought I was going to end up with the likes of, Rashad Penny or, maybe even James Cook if he got down there far enough. Obviously, Reed picked him up. Maybe if he got down there far enough as my RB1. So I was absolutely ecstatic whenever Chubb fell around to the second, the turn there, like he did last year. So why not? I had to smash that draft button. But I think even with my wide receivers kind of primed to have some big roles this year and for this game, I'm most excited, like you were saying, kind of about Dobbins and what he has to do in that offense, but also versus Houston, which is probably the worst run defense in the league. So if there's any week for Dobbins to pop off and get some good numbers and kind of establish himself back as an RB1, I think this is going to be a good week to do it. I love Reed's stack of Hill and Adams. I know he's super excited about that as well. And as he should be at the back end of the first round, you need to stack up the best talent that you can. And he got that with Hill and Adams there. And I love Herbert this year. Obviously, that's why I picked Keenan Allen. I think Keenan's going to go crazy. Reed has Mike Williams there. So I know Reed and I are both going to be yelling at the TV anytime a long ball goes up to see who's on the other end, whether it's Keenan Allen or Mike Williams. So I think it's going to be a good game. I am going to go ahead and pick myself as well, though. I think the power of my wide receivers is just going to be a little too much this week for Reed. So I'm going to go with myself. As far as our next matchup, now this one's going to be fun as well. So it's going to be yourself and Winston. What do you have for that one?
I'm going to start with Winston, the OG hater of the league. I'm curious to see how Tua does. That game, again, has shootout potential, so that could be in Tua's favor. Winston arguably has the best running back room in the league following my draft strategy last year, pairing CMC and Saquon. I thought that was a really great start. I am curious to see how Russell Wilson plays. Russ is the reason why I got Sacco last year. Winston took him later on in the draft. And then CD Lamb on Sunday night is going to be Winston Savior. I've got a big game for CD going up against the Giants. And then for myself, I got both Lions running backs starting right now in Thursday Night Football. I'm expecting a big game from both of them. Yes, I know, very risky move. Just hear me out though. Chris Jones isn't it, you know, he held out all training camp. The Chiefs defensive line sucks without him. The Detroit Lions running backs were the top scoring running backs last year, even with them splitting between Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. Like I said before, after the draft, I'll say it again: 2017 New Orleans Saints running backs. Kamara was a rookie, RB3. They had Mark Ingram as RB7, and that was with Kamara playing less than 60% of the snaps and only having more double-digit rushes twice the entire season. So is it possible? Yes. Now, the question marks for me: wide receiver room, big question mark. You know, the news just broke today. Christian Watson, hamstring injury. Yeah, I'm not thrilled about that. Going into the draft, I knew it was going to be high risk, high reward. There's a lot of volatility with the guys that I picked at wide receiver. We'll see how that plays out. Not a great start with that injury. So basically, the game's going to come down to CD versus Waller and Okereke for me and Winston. But I think Winston pulls this one out close, and I think my team performs better than everyone thought they would.
This is going to be this is going to be good, not only to see how the most scrutinized drafted team probably that we had goes, but also I'm going to compare this team to 12 kickers at the end of the week, so we're also going to see kickers and keep that rivalry going. For Winston's team, Winston went with the classic RB heavy draft, which most people have done in the past, but I think we're seeing the shift into the heavy wide receiver drafts here moving forward just because of the volatility at the running back position. I love the Kyle Pitts pick for Winston. He got him so late in the draft, and I think Kyle Pitts becomes the Kyle Pitts that I drafted last year, much higher, and just scorns me to the earth. But I think he's got he's got a lot of firepower there with Wilson coming out now. He doesn't have all the weapons, Wilson, but I still think that he does a lot better in that Sean Payton offense as far as his decision making and kind of doing the easy things to make it happen for the Broncos offense, things they weren't doing last year. And I do think obviously much to my my detriment, Tagovailoa is going to have a good game there with Tyreek Hill and a healthy Waddle. I believe he's healthy coming into the week. So two exciting players going against Chargers defense that isn't that great either. So that is going to be a very high scoring game, both for the Chargers and for the Dolphins. For your team, they're young. The quarterback position, you have the edge on most people with the quarterback position just because of, Fields being so electric and Jalen Hurts just being super consistent at what he does. But after that, it is pretty questionable. I'm not going to lie. Now, the one thing I will say about the Detroit and the Kansas City game, we will see it tomorrow. The easiest way to keep Patrick Mahomes, who is the best player in the NFL, off of the field is to run the ball. So if the Lions are going to do anything, they are hopefully going to run the ball probably a little bit more versus the Chiefs than they normally would in any other game, just to keep that game script in their favor. And that will bode well for you and not well for maybe John as much moving forward to the next matchup. So we'll cover that in a little bit. But yeah, I still think that your team's going to take a little time to get it together. I'm going to go with Winston again as well for this week in that matchup. But, you are Winston's true rival. He's actually 3-7 versus you. So out of your 10 matchups played, he's only won 3. So the stats are on your side. We'll just see how it all boils down this week. Next matchup, we got Los versus Santi. Los, our now most involved fantasy football manager, stepping it up this year. What do you got for this one?
So looking at Carlos's team, I really like his position players this year. I thought he did a good job drafting those guys, starting it off with Eckler and Pollard at the running back positions, grabbing A.J. Brown in the 3rd round. I thought that was great value. I was hoping he was going to fall to me at the end of the 3rd. Carlos grabbed him a couple picks ahead. So not happy about that. I think Chris Godwin as wide receiver 2 on his team is a great value. And then his RB3 is Joe Mixon, who has top 15 floor, top 5 ceiling. So, that combo really, is good. Where Carlos's team, I think, kind of, lacks is quarterback position. He only has two quarterbacks, and his quarterback two is Bryce Young. Bryce Young is about the same size as me, 5'9", buck 65. It's not going to be good for him. And then moving to Santi's team, I think Santi actually has the best wide receiver quarterback stack in the league, going with Chase and Burrow. And then he paired that with Lamar, who I think has a bounce back year. I've got Lamar 4,000 pass yards, flirting with 1,000 rushing yards. So I think Lamar does good in that new offense. One big concern is Santi's running backs. I think he's starting Samaje Perine and Samaje Perine and Brian Robinson. If there is a game for Brian Robinson to do good, it's this week against that trash Cardinals defense. So Robinson could go for 20 easy. Now, Santi, I'm going to talk to you really fast, okay? I'm really concerned about your Michael Thomas addiction. You really need to get some help.
Slant boy.
Please stop drafting Michael Thomas. His prime was 3 years ago. Move on. But with that, I am going to go Santi.
Love that. You got to stick with it, and there's no greater love affair in our league than Santi and Michael Thomas. And hopefully, maybe Derek Carr is what he needs to get back. Obviously, you need to be healthy in the first place, but maybe Derek Carr sparks a little bit more passing in that offense as well, that they haven't had in the past couple of years. So for me, I really liked Los's draft from the running back perspective, obviously, and Mark Andrews, which I think he's still questionable. I know he had some practice stuff going on earlier in the week, but that might be tricky for him later on in the week. But having Andrews this year, I think Lamar Jackson on Santi's side is going to return to that MVP kind of status as far as his throwing in this new offense, and then obviously his rushing is always a big ability. I love the Eckler, Pollard, and Mixon kind of grouping for his running backs. I do think even with Winston's CMC and Saquon Barkley, I honestly prefer the running back room for Los, with the three of them kind of being his main guys. But with that being said, obviously Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase stack is, of course, the best QB stack and everything in there, just because the two of them just can light it up, can put up 50 apiece in, just a couple of plays, So that one, he's got a lot of big ability on Santi's side, aka Teddy Tankles. With that being said, I am going to go ahead and roll with Los this week. I think establishing with those running backs are going to have some really good games. And maybe Joe's slowed down just a little bit with that calf to start. Maybe he doesn't go to that crazy Joe Burrows, as Winston would say, multiple Joe Burrows. Maybe he doesn't get to form right off the bat. So I think Carlos is going to squeak one out here in this first week. And then later on down the road, of course, those two are probably going to start blowing people up for Santi. Next up, let's go with Hooley and Lou, which I'm not sure if Lou's going to be able to field a full team this week, but we're going to see as the injury reports roll in. What do you got for that one?
Yeah, I don't know who Lou pissed off, but his team is walking on crutches right now. He's got Kupp injured, Kelsey injured, McLaurin injured, Kyler injured, Kamara suspended. That's 6 players right there out of the 14 position spots we have. Not a good look. The one saving grace to Lou's team is Olave. I think Olave has a big year this year. He was one of the better rookie wide receivers last year, but I just don't think it's going to be enough based off all those injuries. Hooley has the advantage with the Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs stack. I think that's the second best stack in the league. And then Hooley also did a double stack, a little weirder, going with a quarterback running back combo in Lawrence and ETN. But I think ETN is a strong enough runner, and Lawrence will have a good game against a really bad defense. And also the other thing, Hooley went wide receiver heavy again this year, which I think is going to benefit him. Just looking over, he's got a good grouping of young rookie wide receivers paired with veterans like Mike Evans and Michael Pittman. So I think that'll play a big factor this week. And for that reason, I'm going to go Hooley.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and I'm riding with Hooley as well. Lou just got hit with the injury bug before the season, which is always tough. It's tough to get that stuff in season, but before you even get started, it kind of kills a lot of momentum for you, even moving forward. I love the Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence QB stack for Hooley. Obviously, you guys, a few of you guys went QB right off the bat in the first round. So traditionally those are the higher scorers in our league. Now, will they make up the difference, from the mid-round guys or the, third, fourth round guys as we go along through the season? We'll see that. I think a healthy Josh Allen and a healthy Trevor Lawrence really carry Hooley's team throughout the year. And then you can't go wrong with Stephon Diggs, always on your team. He's good for a good 30 every week just because. Now for Lou's team, for the guys he can start, I mean, we'll see if the Kelsey knee situation is really big. I think Pickett and Goff are both going to have really good years, but I think they're going to be a little bit slower out the gate as well. Maybe Pickett, I mean, he's going versus that San Francisco defense right off the bat. That's not a good sign. And then Jared Goff, again, if they're handing the ball off a lot, he might not be as involved in the game. But there might come to a point, on Thursday night where he has to start chucking the ball because they're losing or whatever the situation is. So interested to see how that game script goes for him. I do love Olave as well. I would have taken Olave, in any one of my spots, from rounds 2 to 3 if I thought about it. But, seeing Chubb and everybody there, I had to grab all those guys first. But I'm going to go ahead and go with Hooley on that one. Hopefully we don't have any more news about Lou's team leading into tomorrow or, any bad news leading into tomorrow or into Sunday because he's already waving the white flag. And that brings us to our final game, our game of the week. And, I know Santi or Winston, they're probably both going to be mad that they didn't end up as a game of the week in their situations, whatever it is. But anytime that you have a man absolutely sweating bullets after the third pick in the draft, you have to see how his team does, and you have to make it the game of the week. And of course, Ryan himself getting to pick his team this year. It's just, it's an all-time week one battle. We got Ryan versus John as the game of the week. Brent, what do you got for that?
Not only is this the game of the week, but it's also a look into different draft strategies. Just like you mentioned, John took Mahomes third overall. Ryan went the zero QB strategy and didn't take his first quarterback till round 10. So it's going to be interesting to see which draft strategy pays off. For John, he was tilting after the Mahomes pick. I do think he regretted it, even though he's saying he doesn't. So we'll see how that goes. Mahomes doesn't have Kelsey, his top target, most likely. So he's going to be relying on, Sky Moore, who I think does have a good game. Noah Gray stepping in at tight end will be interesting. Question marks for John at running back. Just personally, Josh Jacobs, he sat out all of training camp. I'm curious to see how Miles Sanders does in a new role in Carolina, and also coming off a preseason injury. That's not always great. The one good thing for John's team, Garrett Wilson and Christian Kirk are going to ball out this week. I think they both have great weeks. But then for Ryan, he didn't take a quarterback till round 10. His next quarterback he took in round 13. And then he picked up Baker Mayfield off of waivers after the draft. So he really waited for those quarterbacks. But by doing so, he really rounded out his running back and wide receiver rooms. He's got a super strong running back combo in Derrick Henry and Bijan Robinson. Side note, I did get my first share of Bijan last night in my home league draft, so I finally got him. And then at wide receiver for Ryan, he's got the dual wide receiver 1Bs with Devonta and Waddle. No, both of them are great wide receivers, but are they the number ones on their team? No. Could they be number ones on other teams? Yes. So I'm curious to see how that plays out this year. Last year it worked out. Waddle was, I think, a top 8 wide receiver. Devonta was a top 12 wide receiver. So if that pans out again, Ryan's going to crush this year. So in our first game of the week, I'm going to go with Ryan.
Yes, this is, like I said, this is a fun matchup. Like I said, I think the anticipation around this game is probably greater than any of the other ones just because we want to see how these two guys go. And honestly, probably more than anything, how John's team works out. John's entering that villain arc as he's going into year 10. So we'll see if he continues to hate or if he just, his team starts blowing people up and he can kind of coast like he normally does. I do love, I love Ryan's Bijan Henry stack. That's a great running back room to start with. Really heavy hitters. I thought he probably should have picked up some QBs a little bit further up along the way. Stafford's a little volatile now without Kupp. Garoppolo versus Denver. I mean, Denver's defense is still really good. Of course, you got Devontae Adams, so you got a big hitter either way. But Garoppolo is kind of more known as that short range guy and the yards after catch kind of guy. So we'll see how they open up that playbook and everything for the Raiders and see how he does. But On John's side, of course, Patrick Mahomes. Anytime you got a guy who is projected 28 points, you're in a good position. I think Garrett Wilson ends up being a top 5 wide receiver this year, somewhere up there in the upper echelon with Rodgers on my end, hopefully. And I think he's going to have an absolute ridiculous number of touchdowns. I think more than anything, he's going to probably lead the league in touchdowns just with the way that Rodgers hyper focuses on a number 1 receiver like he did for Adams for so long. And Adams was always super successful with his touchdown rate as well. So I think Wilson will have probably one of the better years of any of the wide receivers that we have out there. And, Josh Jacobs coming back, changing his jersey number to number 8. I think that's a 2,000-yard, season right there. Single-digit numbers are always killing it at the running back position. That's what I love. I don't know why. I'm going to go with John. John's going to be my guy for this week. I think he returns to that regular season, number 1 guy as he goes along through year 10 still. And we'll see how how his team kind of shapes out as we go on through the year. So with that being said, Brent, what do we got for our picks for the games?
All right, we both agree Josh over Reed. We both agree Winston over Brent. And we both agree Hooley over Lou. Now, on our differences, I've got Santi over Carlos, and you're riding Carlos on the upset. And then for our game of the week, I'm going with Ryan, and you're rocking with John.
I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, Brent, any last words for the guys on your end?
Winston, come real close, okay? If I beat you, delete Facebook Messenger. You will never hear the end of it. Good luck, everyone else.
That would be it. Like I said, the stats are in Brent's favors. Out of 10 matchups, Winston's only been able to get 3 of them, in the past 10 years. So we'll see how that one goes. There's going to be some fun shit talking for week 1. On my end, I think it's just great to be back. Like I said, we had a longer type of post-draft season than we normally do. So it wasn't like we drafted and then we got right into the season. We drafted and then we were able to look at we just had to sit there and look at the rosters, for the last couple of weeks. So happy just to be back with football. Happy to say that the format is changing for the PBL Primetime for Volume 2. So we're going to do our takeover series as well. So you're only going to see me and Brent every other week. I'm sure most people will be happy about that in the league. But it's all about you guys taking over in those odd number week or those even number weeks. Next week is going to be Ryan's first shot at it. So essentially it's just going to be Ryan and whoever he adds on as a guest or a co-host, kind of doing their pod, however they want to do it. You could do a power hour and, throw some picks in there if you'd like, if you want to make a super long podcast. You could stare into the camera for 10 minutes and then say Winston sucks right there at the end and end of the recording. It's all up to you guys. So however you guys want to make your takeover podcast, the PBL Primetime becomes yours in that week that you're the captain. So you'll be able to do it. Now, I will not be available myself as a co-host, but Brent will be available. If you want to bring Brent Lias on to your podcast as your co-host, you are more than welcome to. I know Winston's been chomping at the bit to steal Brent from me. But Brent and I are a package deal most of the time, but he'll be out there as a co-host if anybody so chooses. And that's it, just excited to be back here with some football. I am out here in Santa Cruz, California this week, but I will be rushing my work tomorrow. So I am ready for that early kickoff on the West Coast for some Thursday night football. And we'll be staring gloriously at my phone the entire time on the fantasy football stats for Amon-Ra St. Brown, and others. But just excited to be back, excited for the PBL Primetime for Volume 2. And for Brent and myself, we are out. We will catch you guys in week 3. Peace out.